All good. Some positives to come out of the weekend, especially in that first half that we've been trying to reinforce. And, of course, trying to integrate some of those guys that have been out of the equation. And I've made so very clear that we're very keen to get them back.
Great. We'll go ahead and open up to questions here in the room. Ben?
Yeah, Gary, I mean, we've talked kind of a lot about trying to get things back on track. Does this homestand, do you feel like it comes with any added pressure, or is it just kind of a game-by-game situation?
Yeah, Ben, there's pressure every week. You know, if you're at a professional level and you're working in MLS as it is right now, then whoever you are, you should expect to be under pressure. We have a very vocal and supportive group of fans that come every week, and that comes with a reality that you're trying to get a result. And I think the guys have shown that week in, week out, whenever they've turned up at Geodis Park. So, of course, there's pressure. I think a slightly different way of putting it is that we're all very, very appreciative and understanding of the fact that the home games represent the very best opportunity to earn points, of course. Stats will tell us that. So, therefore, the 3 out of 4 next games at home, of course, are important. I wouldn't say that I feel any more pressure than I have done in any other home game or any other fixture.
Claudio?
Gary, obviously, like you said, every weekend is a different pressure, different challenge. When you compare what you had to plan against San Jose and what you need to do for this weekend against Montreal, how much does it change in terms of tactical preparation?
Well, I think considerably. Two very different groups. The Montreal group, and Lauren's done a very, very good job with this Montreal group. I think some of his influences are there to see already, which is, you know, the mark of a good opening period of time. There looks like there's confidence in the group. Results have been decent. So therefore the guys are not only warming to him, but obviously the things he's asking for. They will match us, you know, around the field in many, many different ways. There'll be a lot of similarities to the Columbus game. You know, they build out in a very similar way. There's an emphasis around similar tactical areas of the field. And I do think when you run into two groups that are playing, you know, a mirror sort of image, that you see a lot of individual matchups and battles. And I would expect, and I don't know what guys are going to be in the group, and of course I don't want to reveal too many of the areas that we might change, but I think you're going to see quite a focal point in 1 or 2 areas that could be very influential in the game. Most notably, how do we move their centre halves around and create space in behind and down the side of them? What do the wing-back areas look like? They're very, very similar in terms of athletic ability and match-up. And, of course, they'll be doing likewise to us.
Jacob?
Yeah, Gary, you know, we've, I think, I've talked a lot about, you know, what this team is missing when, you know, Walker is not on the field, I guess. But, you know, Shaq Moore has missed, you know, 4 games in a row. I guess what does the defense, I guess, how are things different when he's not available, and I guess what changed when, you know, he's in lineup?
Walker?
Shaq.
Well, Shaq offers something that I don't think anyone else has in the group. His athleticism is elite. He's a very, very good defender. I mean, look, the simple way of putting this is, what is the difference between an elite player and an average player? Well, I can run you through a number of elements of that individual, how you see the game, the choices you make in a game, the technical ability that you have, your confidence in your own ability, timing of tackles, vision to see runners, but then also the physical, the athletic, the sharpness in tight areas, the intensity. He brings all of those things. We miss that. And if you add Walker into that equation as well, And you're talking about an individual that's played at the very highest level. He's capable of carrying other players on his shoulders, which right now not too many others are. They're concentrating on their own game. So there's a lot of percentage points lost in that defending lineup.
We'll go to Valère on the Zoom.
Hey Gary, a lot of talk about pressure and, you know, whether it's you or the players are feeling...
There wasn't a lot, Valère. I think Ben asked one question. Anyway, I get it.
Well, and I'm sorry if you already asked that. I might have missed the beginning of it. But just how are you balancing that with the players in terms of, you know, balancing pressure and pushing them a little harder, and at the same time, obviously they're humans, right? So you got to balance that. So how are you exactly doing that to the best of your ability?
Well, look, in any walk of life, I do believe this. If I said, you must do this, and this must happen, and you transfer whatever pressure there might be, I don't think we're feeling as much as you may believe we are. But if that type of environment is emphasised to a group of players that have got to go out and perform and show a natural and relaxed feel about their game, confidence in certain areas, expression, and I don't think you get that. I don't mean the guys are feeling that at all, and I would honestly say that I do believe the best way to find a route through to the results that you want is to constantly be reinforcing the things that are being done well and finding an opportunity to work on the things that have not quite hit the standards that you're after. So we've continued to do that in the process of it. We're of course looking forward to more minutes out of the guys I've already mentioned, but the guys are in a good spot. I think they saw some good things out of the first half. We're putting ourselves in a good position. It really is a case now of emotionally, as much as anything else, reinforcing that positive position that we're in a number of games.
We'll go to John Glennon on the Zoom.
Gary, I know you talked earlier about the kind of reintegrating Walker and Tyler. How did you feel like that went, getting them back in the rotation? And I guess fair to assume likely to see much more of them this weekend?
Yeah, I think you'll see more minutes for sure from both of those guys. Shaq is still a question mark as to what part he'll play in the weekend. We'll find out a lot more today. But I think you've only got to hear the reaction of the crowd when Walker entered the field. You know, those guys mean an awful lot to the group. I think he means an awful lot to the fans. I think we're yet to see, and the fans are yet to see, the true sort of reflection of what Tyler can give the group, because we've not quite seen enough. But I think they'll be more than happy about what he's able to achieve creatively and what sort of connection he brings to the group. I think that influence at the other end of the field will be just as important as they know the sort of implications Walker has to the group.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, after the game last weekend, you mentioned that Randall picked up another injury, and it didn't sound like it's necessarily a short-term thing. So I'm just curious, he's obviously missed a lot of time in the past 2 years. It feels like when he's out, he's kind of always held out as a player. Like when he comes back, we'll have a big connecting piece back, and things will look different. So with him out, how do you kind of find a connecting piece from midfield? And I guess kind of a part two to that, what role do you think Tyler plays in that? It looked like he was playing more in the midfield three when he came.
Yeah.
Do you expect him to kind of fill in some of that?
Well, yeah. I mean, look. First of all, it's disappointing that Randall again will be out for a period of time. I think the reason for re-emphasising some of the things that I do about guys like Randall are that in some of our best football, we're talking about more than 18 months ago, because of Randall's problems, I think we've seen what he can do in a game, and some of the confidence that he brings out of other players. He does something different. as far as Tyler is concerned, there are some similarities in their game. And I think you're going to see Tyler come into that midfield attacking world in the shape that we're playing, more so in those attacking pockets on either side of the field, joining into a more, maybe comprehensive front three, rather than the individuals that you see him right now. And I think as you look at the group, and maybe, and I've heard this word on more than one occasion, balance of the team, how important that is. You have to remember that the players that go out on the field have a particular personality. And those personalities and qualities really bring something different out of each position. If I play Teal and Sam instead of Hanny and Sam, you know for sure you're going to see something very different. They're all forwards, but they have very different focuses and emotions that they bring to the game. So Tyler's very, very different. He's different to Sean. He's different to Drew. And my hope is that as time moves on, because the next step in this is, because of the time out these guys have had, how do we find a world where we can fast track these lads into that group to make a difference? It's one thing having them in the group, but they've got to get up to speed quickly. We're trying to get them there as quickly as we can. You can see that last weekend. I'm hoping they'll pick up the pace of the game in a smooth and fluid fashion, and that in itself will have an effect.
Good. Yeah, obviously you never enjoy being out and being sidelined, but put a lot of good work in with staff, athletic training staff, PT, and got to a good place. So happy to get 15-20 minutes out there, and now just focused on Montreal and what that looks like for this group to get 3 points this weekend.
Great. Start with questions in the room. Jacob?
Yes, Walker, with Lucas, out with, injury possibly, long term, I guess, Jack has had, maybe some of his struggles. I guess, how do you feel he's been, working through them? And I guess, is there anything you've maybe been doing yourself, just, to help with his confidence, help his form, anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's no secret that Jack and I are close. We talk a lot, talk about the game a lot, talk about mentality. And so we've had a lot of really good conversations that I won't divulge everything, but I think it's a big opportunity for him to step up, knowing that, Lucas is going to be out for a considerable amount of time. And I think that can do a lot for your mentality and confidence, kind of knowing that you should be relied on week in and week out. And so I think he sees the opportunity he has in front of him and needs to take it, with two hands and try and really stake a claim there like he did last year. So we're excited to have the depth that we do on this team, especially as you look at this new formation and what that offers us with three center backs and the personnel that we have, and Josh and Brent and Dan and all those guys. So, injuries are never timely, but it seems like between myself and Jack and Lucas, it just feels like there's been a little bit of rotation, based off of injuries, and that's unfortunate. But the good news is we have very capable guys who can step in and get the job done.
Claudia?
Walker, we included all the frustration that you feel because of your injury and perhaps with the mistakes that happen in defense that might happen even if you were inside. How close do you think the team is in terms of what that defensive shape that is Nashville?
Yeah, I think we're close. It's obviously frustrating to see the nature in which we've allowed goals this season, both in set pieces and run of play. And, I remember a time even a few years ago where it's like, man, have we ever allowed 3 goals in a game? And then sure enough, that weekend after we were talking about it, it happened. But it's very few and far between when we give up multiple goals in a game, and it seems like this season that has been the case. And, I think there are a lot of reasons for that, but there is something about getting back to the mentality of especially when we're at home, like this is Nashville, we do not get scored on. And I think everyone adopting that and really believing it, it's one thing to say it, but another to believe it, and I'm hoping that we're getting back to believing it this weekend and, limiting the chances that the other team has. And then whether you succeed or not, at least going in, like, that is our goal. It's not about, squeaking by, letting in a goal. It's like, no, we we do not let people score on us, and hopefully that's the mindset that we'll carry into this weekend.
Ben?
Yeah, Walker, we talked, I think it was after maybe the Boca match, just kind of about how excited you were to finally be pain-free and playing. And then I'm sure to go from that to hurt again pretty quickly wasn't easy to deal with. So I'm just kind of curious what that was like for you, and to kind of simultaneously have to be injured while the team was struggling.
Yeah.
What's it been like the past couple weeks?
Yeah, I think honestly, like the older you get, the more experience you have. I mean, injuries are part of the sport. They happen, especially ones that happen in that way, where it's kind of like, well, not much I could have done. You know, is contact, and I can't go back and change any of that. So I think my mentality's grown a lot over the years. Just whenever I am faced with an injury, it was a really good time to try and then work and speak into the guys who are also dealing with their rehabs, talking to Forster, talking to Joey, talking to Whoops, and really making sure that they were attacking their rehab and their assignments the way that I wanted to attack mine. And I feel like every time I show up in a rehab environment, I know that those guys are probably looking at me while I'm doing my stuff and like, okay, like what does it look like? And I want to make sure I have a really clear example for them of what it looks like. And so I don't think it's frustrating, but I don't think my mood when I come into the locker room is any different. It's always trying to pick the guys up, bring some joy, some happiness, being lighthearted, knowing that, hey, whether you're injured, healthy, playing, not playing, you should show up with the same positive attitude and do your job, whether that's rehab or and training. And then, the more frustrating side of it is, to your point, watching a team that you feel like you can help and you can bring some level of stability and leadership into those areas. It was hard to watch, and I tried to do my best from the sidelines, but that's what I'm probably most excited about, is trying to hopefully bring some continuity and some will and some desire to get back to the Nashville of old and what we're kind of accustomed to in terms of our goals against and opportunities given up.
We'll go to Valère on Zoom.
Hey Walker, curious, you mentioned watching from afar and being frustrated with it a lot of times, or watching from the stands. What were some of the issues or the big issues you were seeing with the team, and do you feel like that will improve or has already started improving with you and guys like Tyler being back in the fold?
Yeah, funny enough, a lot of the goals that we've given up, I would say, are very much self-inflicted, and I think a lot of that can be communication. A couple mix-ups, a couple of times where it's like, hey, if you just direct them in a different way, like the problem is solved before they even get a chance. So communication, organization, for sure, are little details of the game that is the difference between them getting a shot off or intercepting a pass. And I think getting guys to commit to decisions earlier and in a more clear way is the key to that, because I asked our video guy to send all the goals against and just watch them through, and we can talk about tactics, we can talk about all of these things, but when you look at the actual goals that are given up, they're individual mistakes for the most part, and sometimes that can be technical, but most times I think it can be sorted out by getting them in a better position earlier. And so that was the frustrating thing that I saw that happened with a lot of the goals that we've seen.